Alright guys, welcome back to Ohio Trapper. So, here it is, end of September. Awesome weather, temperature dropped like 20 degrees. Any outdoorsman knows deer season's right around the corner. It's next weekend here in Ohio. Trapping season's knocking at the door. So, what better time than start prepping traps. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you my layout, and this is how I prep my traps for trapping season. I do them all the same way. This is all my canine traps. I'm just going to go through this with my canine traps. I don't do anything to my leg holds for my Duke 1.5s, 1 3/4, anything like that for my coon sets that I use for pocket sets or blind sets or anything. I don't really mess with it. I dyed and waxed them one time, and that seems to be holding up. And then once that don't hold up anymore, I'll go ahead and I'll redo my coon sets. I've only got 3 or 4 dozen of those for pocket sets anyways. But when it comes time to dye my traps, I'll put all my body grip traps in my dye. I do that every year. I re-dye all my body grips just to keep them not rust free. I'll dye them, keep them dark. So anyways, let's get into it. Canine traps. What I do first is I get everything set up and organized, and find a good spot to do it in. Right now it's kind of breezy outside. Normally I would do this outside, but my barn works because it's chilly, it's breezy, it's rainy. We're just going to do it inside. So let me get you turned around here and I'll show you my setup. Alright guys, this is my setup. This is what I boil my traps in. This is what I dye my traps in. And I use a different setup for wax. So all it is it's the bottom third of a 55-gallon drum on my turkey fryer stand. I used to use a turkey fryer for this, but I have way too many traps. A turkey fryer, you can only put like 6, 7 traps in there at a time. Doing it this way, I can put a couple dozen traps in there at once. So what I'll do is I'll bring this up to a boil, and then I'll put a couple dozen traps in there and I'll let it boil for 45 minutes to an hour or whatever. It just depends on how much wax and dirt and debris and stuff you have on them. So that's my pot setup. A lot of people use a similar setup to this. I've seen people do this, and they'll build a fire ring under it and build a fire under it. Cool, that's great. It probably actually is cheaper because propane does get a little pricey. I'll go through a tank and a half of propane doing it like this. But yeah, you could do that if you want to, for sure. So here is one pile of my traps. Now I started doing this the other day and got ahead of myself, and I did boil some, but I like to lay all my traps out. There's the pile that still needs boiled. This pile, I already boiled once and took it. See how dull they are? They're real dull. All the wax is off of them. Yeah, that's what they should look like with no wax on them. They're real dull, not glossy, not nothing. They've been washed and boiled once, so they're ready to go put in the dye yet. But let's focus on this stuff. 2 reasons why I lay all my traps out like this and get organized. 1, I know how many traps I have. I can determine of what kind of trap I have. I can lay them all out. I can look at them and I can see if any of them need extra swivels put on them. I can check it all. It's easy to do. You're not pulling them out of a big pile and then creating another pile. So I know this year I have 85 canine traps, and like if you followed me before, you know what traps I run. Those are my modified Duke number 3s. These are MB and Duke 550s, Bridger number 2s, laminated and modified. And the same thing over here. These are a bunch of new traps I picked up this year. MB and Duke, both 550 series. These are those tank of a Bridger Douglas number 2s I showed you in one of my last videos. And here are the Bridger number 2s that I was laminating in one of my last video. and this is some MB 450s. These 450s still have wax on them, so they need to get boiled. They've been dyed. I didn't even run these last year, but I'm going to this year, so I need to get the old wax off, put new wax on. So that's the plan. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, that pile is ready to go. What I'm going to do here, the only thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up that water to boil. It takes a little while because there's about 20 gallons of water in there. I'm going to put a couple dozen traps in there and let them boil for 45 minutes to an hour. Now the new traps, the still shiny ones, they still have that oil on them from the factory. So they're going to get set back over here, and then I'm going to coat them with vinegar. All the new shiny traps are getting coated with vinegar after they've been boiled. That'll allow it to rust a little bit. Okay, just coat them with vinegar, let them sit for a couple days, and let them rust up. The rest of them are just going to go back on the floor, and then once those new ones get rusted up, everything's going to get dyed, and then they'll get waxed that same night, hopefully, if I have time. So this is step one. But that's how I do it. I think a lot of people do it a very similar way, and I figured I'd just bring you guys along. So this is step one. Those already been boiled. These ones are getting ready to boil. So we're gonna wait for the water. It's gonna take a little while, and then I'll come back. I'll set you guys up, and then start the process. All right, guys. Water's boiling. Got a good rolling boil to it. We're gonna start adding traps. So here we go. I'm just gonna start with just some of the traps that don't have any wax on, never had any wax on. They're a little quicker because all you gotta do is take the grease off, the oils. That's what I'm gonna start with. So I'm gonna get a couple dozen of them in the water. It's hot, guys. Okay. There's at least 2 dozen traps in there. I'm gonna leave them in there for a while. I'm gonna let them 45 minutes or so, half hour, 40 minutes, because there's no wax on these. It's just the oil, so all that oil just needs to come off. And then what I'll do is I'll turn the flame off, and I'll take a bucket and I'll take some of that all the oils and stuff off the top. I'll skim all that off. What I would normally do all that oil is going to float to the top. So I'll just take a bucket and skim all that oil off, and then I'll pull the traps out one by one, making sure not to pull them up through that oil. Now, if I'm doing this outside, I would just overflow the water, but I'm not, and I don't want to mess in my barn. So I'm just going to do it that way. It'll be fine. And then we will get hopefully the rest of these in maybe one more load. So that'd be awesome. So, but what I did is I took some time. I'll turn you around. What I did is I took some time and I started organizing and looking for everything, since this is a time-consuming process. Looking for everything that I need to put wax on or dye. Well, I've picked up a lot of different traps within the last 2 years that some of it I have never been treated. I've used them, but like I lied to you earlier, those Duke 1.5s, they're super rusty. They need dye on them. I'll probably wax those. Let me get focused here. Come on. Okay. So what I did is I just laid everything out. These are all my muskrat traps. So, I laid them all out, and what I was looking for actually is I like to put hags brackets on them for the pull sets. All those leg holds, those are all Victor 1s, Duke 1s. I laid them out by the dozen up there. Those need dyed, and all my 110s. These are 155s, 220, 330. But yeah, what I'll do is I go through all of these. These are all going to get dyed again. See the ones that have been used before. Some of them, a lot haven't. But all these footholds, they're rusty. They need dyed. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll get all these. But what I was talking about, hag brackets, I don't know if a lot of you guys muskrat trap. That is a hags bracket on this. That's how I put them up. They set them up. I've got enough of those clips. Those are the spring clips. I've got enough of them to put all my 155s, have them on there, because I'll put those on poles too. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I'm trying to make use of my time. So what we'll do is we will let this stuff boil. It's already back to boiling. Once you put them cold traps in there, it likes to, the boil will go away, it'll cool off. Let it boil back up, let that roll and boil like it is now for half hour, 45 minutes, and then I'll turn you guys on next when I've got everything boiled up. Once I got everything boiled, ready for dye, that's when I'll turn you on, and then we'll go through the dyeing process, and then again for the waxing process. But while I got you, I can show you how I wax while I'm waiting. That's what I use to wax. It's a metal container that's got, I don't know, there's probably 8 or 9 pounds of wax in that. And I will heat that up on a very low flame. Very low flame. On my turkey fryer stand. And I've got a couple more, I got 4 or 5 more pounds of wax. If I got to put more in there, I'll put more in there. But very, very low flame. Do not want to burn the wax. And I'll pick up one trap after they're dyed. I'll pick it up and I'll dunk it in this solid melted wax. I don't do the wax on top of my dye and all that stuff. I just, over the years, I've collected enough wax to do this, and that just makes it easier for me. So I'll turn you guys back on after I get all these boiled up and we're making up our whack or our dye, and we'll go to step 2. So rounding up the end of step 1 and we'll go to step 2. All right, guys. So here we are. We are on step 2 of prepping canine traps. It has been 2 days. This is the second day since I boiled and degreased all my traps. So here we are. I got my water just getting ready to start boiling. What I didn't show you guys the step because it's honestly so simple. There's no reason to record it. I didn't think so. Let me turn you around here, and then we're gonna go to step 2. All right, guys. I got everything ready to go. The water, that's clean water. I cleaned out the old water. There's no oil in the water. There's no old wax, no nothing. It's fresh water. It's just getting ready to boil, and we're almost ready to start dyeing. But what I want to show you is I told you guys that I was going to spray all my traps down with vinegar. That's why I let them sit for 2 days. Well, a lot of people will say, you know, let's degrease brand new traps, wax them and run them. That's fine. I've done that. That works. Nothing at all wrong with that. I will say this. Shiny traps, I use peat moss to cover all my traps. Well, wind blows peat moss around. Sometimes a shiny trap will attract a raccoon. It happens. You're gonna catch raccoons in canine sets anyways. Possums, coons, it's gonna happen. I just for the extra measures, I rust up my traps and dye all of them, brand new ones. So let me show you this. What I did is I degreased my traps, set them all on the ground, just like I had them before, and I just coated them with vinegar. Came back the next day, they were rusted. I coated them again with vinegar, and now we're to this point. I mean, they're rusted up real nice. So that's why I do it. So I'll give you a better shot. This is a brand new, this is a Duke 550. Brand new one. I see the bottom's still brand new. Not a big deal. That goes on the ground anyways. I don't do the bottoms. I covered that with vinegar for 2 days and let them sit. I did nothing else to it, and they rusted up like that. So, just if that's what you guys want to do, that's the way I do it. So, what we're gonna do now is, I know that I've got over 100 traps that I gotta get dye on, and I use this, just logwood dye. And just go by the directions. It says it'll dye 1 to 2 dozen larger traps, 2 to 3 dozen smaller traps. Use your discretion. I'm thinking that, you know, a Bridger number 2, a number 2 series is probably what they consider a smaller size trap. You want to boil this in a degreaser, remove all the oil. We did that. Rinse thoroughly. Not a big deal. We're putting it in there. I really don't care about the rinsing. It says, let traps simmer in hot water just below the boiling point for approximately 1 hour. So this will do, one bag will do 2 dozen. Or 2 to 3 dozen is what we're gonna say. So we'll go with 2 dozen. I know that I'm gonna do about 100 traps, so I'm gonna start with 3 bags of dye. I have 4 bags, we're just gonna put 3 bags in there. And because not all my traps are gonna soak a lot of dye. So we're gonna put 3 in there and we'll see. And then before I do all my body grips, I'll put my 4th one in and we'll go from there. So let me show you how we do it. This isn't rocket science, guys. It's really, really not. I know guys that they don't even use heat at all to dye their traps. They'll get a bunch of walnuts and just put them in a bottom of a 55-gallon drum and let them sit in there for a couple days. You know, with they'll let the walnuts sit in water for a while, and then go out there after a week or so. They'll set all their traps in it. Just let them soak. Go out there and stir it up every once in a while. Leave them sit in there for a couple days. Ain't gonna hurt them. This way you can just get it done. The heat just kind of helps. It's a time-consuming process anyways, but I think it's completely necessary. Alright, third bag. These scissors are so dull because these are what I trim my coons with whenever I got them on my stretchers. Works great for that. They're actually fabric shears. They don't do well on plastic. Okay, 3 bags. We're gonna mix that up good. Get all that dye in there. Mix it. You splice this stuff on you, it's staying on you, guys. You get it on your clothes, it's staying in your clothes. I got some powder floating on the top, so we're going to mix it up good. Reset the timer. Okay, now we're just going to stick some traps in. No different than blowing the grease off. Didn't rust up all that great. the end of the world. I don't know if we're going to get it to fit. Alright, I think that's pretty good. I don't know. Let's see if I can get one more in there. It's getting to be pretty full. I got a lot more water in there. I don't want it to overboil all over my barn here, just because I don't feel like messing with it. If I was outside, I wouldn't care. But at this point, you're wasting dye if that happens. I got one more in there. That'll work. I don't know how many I get in there, a couple dozen, so. All right, well. Once I get them out, I'm gonna dye all of them. I'll do the same thing for the next batch. I'll dye them all, and then I'll bring you back. All right, guys, welcome back. We're at step 3. I got my boy out here, Brax, with me. Hello. We got everything dyed. It took all day because we had to leave to go get, give some support to a 6th grade football team. So everything's dyed up. Now I've got my wax melted, and we're gonna wax them and hang them up, and that's it. I mean, these things will be ready to finish putting swivels and anchors and tags on them, and they're ready to go. So after this is the last step. So let me get you turned around here and we'll show you what we're doing. Okay, as I said before, that pail I showed you guys, that's all wax. That's you know, just full of wax all the way to the brim. So very low heat. Never boil the wax. Don't get it too hot. It's black because I've dipped a bunch of traps in this wax. But the bad thing about using this much wax is if you scorch it, all of it's bad. So never scorch it. Just very slow heat. It takes forever to melt it. Just safe than sorry, you know, just low heat and melt it all the way through. So here's all of the dyed traps. Even those new ones that I let rust up a little bit, they dyed real nice. Got them all dyed. Started putting the swivels and the anchors on them. All of them. So all I got to do is dip them, put the tags on them, and they all go in a sealed tote, and they're ready to put in the ground. And like I said before, I got all my muskrat traps done. That is a cluster of muskrat traps I've got to sort out. So yeah, so here we go. Step 3, the last final step. So I've got a helper here, and we're going to get this done. So I'll show you how to do it. All I do is the trap goes in the wax till it's submerged. These Duke number 3s, they're side swiveled. It's a pain. gotta get them in there. And you gotta be careful because wax. Here, Brax, hand me that rod. Wax will burn, so you got to be careful. See how it's bubbling? There we go. We got it in there. See how it's bubbling a little bit? That's because it's warming up. There's a little bit of moisture in that dye, and it's warming that trap up. You want to let it sit in there for a little while. If not, you'll pull it out and it'll turn white. You don't want that. So see how it's kind of going away? It's because that trap's heating up and that moisture out of that dye is boiling out of there. So it doesn't take long each trap. Just let it sit in there. You know, a couple minutes, minute or so. And you want to pull it out. Shake it off. And then we're going to come over and we're going to hang it up. Just going to hang it. It's extremely hot. And that trap's ready to go. We'll do one more for you. These center swivel traps are so much easier, they fit right in there. Just a couple minutes, you see the bubbles coming up. As soon as those pretty much go away, she's ready. You don't want to put water, a lot of water in melted wax, because it'll boil over and wax is very flammable. If you ever get a fire in a situation where you're using a turkey fryer, don't freak out about it. Don't try to grab the wax bucket. At that point, just turn the propane off and either let it go or go get a fire extinguisher, but never reach down and grab for that bucket. Just turn the flame off and then grab a fire extinguisher. Don't use water. If you're outside, you can turn the flame off and let it burn out or whatever. Put a lid on it. You can do that. But don't ever throw water on melted wax. That's good enough. That trap's nice and hot. Shake it off. And then what I do is I hang them all. And you see all these nails on my rafters in my barn? They get hung, every one of them get hung up there. So we'll hang this one. Ouch. And it's ready to go. There's that other one. Not any white wax on it, nothing. That wax is starting to set up already on that one. Trap's still really hot, but if the wax is white, you didn't let the trap heat up in the wax good enough. So, there you have it, guys. So there you go, guys. That's how I do it. That's the 3-step process that I do for prepping my traps at the end of the year. or beginning of the year. I'm sorry. Let's get the hell away from that. Get that dog, bud. But that's how I do it. So you see me degrease them, you've seen me dye them, you've seen me wax them. That's how it works. I've got a whole lot more work ahead of me tonight, and I still got to finish putting swivels and anchors on a lot of them. And then they go in the tote and they're ready to go. So I hope you guys learned something. I know this is going to be a pretty lengthy video. So if you guys got any suggestions on how I could do it better, how you do it, let me know. I'm always up for better ways, quicker ways to do stuff. So all right guys, well, hope you enjoyed the video, and till next time.